Is it still too early to write off Miguel Vargas as a bust? Let's discuss if he can salvage his career next on Locked On White Sox.
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I'm your host, Todd Welter, a lifelong Sox fan and the site expert of SouthsideShowdown.com, part of the Fansided Network. And also, I've covered Major League Baseball for outlets such as the Associated Press. And thanks for making Locked On White Sox your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Make sure to hit the like button on today's episode. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox if you've not done so already. And also follow or subscribe to the show at wherever you get your podcasts. Well, Monday's show elicited some responses that I was too harsh on Miguel Vargas, so let's discuss if he can still be something in the bigs in the first segment. Then, wouldn't it be nice if baseball had standards for owners to keep their franchises? Let's discuss what those should be in the second segment. And then finally, Josh Naylor is out of the division, but let's also discuss 5 hitters I would love to see out of the AL Central in today's Top 5 Friday. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So I guess there's some Miguel Vargas stands out there because the comments I got on Monday's episode was something. I mean, I had comments of, one guy saying, well, he was great in the minor leagues. Yeah, that makes him a 4A player. Okay. Or, well, he can get on base. Okay. I'll get to that. But he's still, his career average is 25 points below 200. He's not even at the Mendoza line. And there's some folks who still think, well, the Sox did not get fleeced in that trade. They didn't get fleeced in that trade that brought him to the Southside. They did. And I'll review it really quick in just a few seconds. And there are even people out there who put in comments, maybe Dodger fans who just really liked Miguel Vargas. I don't know, but think he can still have a good big league career. And look, I've been accused of being too negative lately. And yeah, I kind of feel that too, but it's super hard to be positive about this franchise because nothing has gone right since game 4 of the ALDS in 2021. Think about it. The last real great memory you have of the White Sox is game 3 of the ALDS in 2021. When, the 12-6, Leury Garcia, Kane got, Leury Garcia's home run, Kane guy, all that stuff. But ever since then, it's been nothing but bad for this franchise. So how can you be positive about this except for, the prospects? And folks, especially the guy that leave me that 1-star review, folks, I have given coverage about the prospects. I've talked about the prospects. Had a guy on yesterday about the prospects, but I'll get off my soapbox and get back to Miguel Vargas coming to the Southside because it was a terrible trade deadline deal. It was just terrible. And it was just another mark of just how bad things are for the Sox. So let's just quickly revisit that fleecing and then see if there's something salvageable. And I know it might sound like a broken record, but I think some people really have to understand the Sox got fleeced. I'm sorry. Chris Getz did get the Jedi mind trick from Los Angeles Dodgers team president Andrew Friedman. And again, I'm sorry, but I think some people really have to understand just how much that this set back the franchise. And it was one of the reasons why you had to trade Garrett Crochet. Had you used Eric Fetty, the surprise premium asset, because he was one of the few available starting pitchers that you could have moved, you could have actually accelerated the rebuild. And maybe you could have kept Garrett Crochet. Although you could have also traded Garrett Crochet and, again, collected more pieces to help you feel very confident that this team will be ready to compete by 2027. But right now, you've got an asset in Miguel Vargas. I don't even think it's an asset. Because think about it. The Minnesota Twins reportedly offered a better deal for Eric Fetty as a standalone trade. All by himself, they were willing to offer a legit top 100 prospect who's obviously not been exposed as a possible 4A player. Still a blank canvas. Where Miguel Vargas slightly damaged. I'll give him enough grace to say he was a slightly damaged prospect. You could have gotten the brand new computer out of the box, or you could have gotten an open box computer. That's what the Sox basically got in this deal. But Getz didn't want to help out a division rival, even though the White Sox are years and years away from competing for the AL Central, to the point where it's probably not going to be where Eric Fetty's going to get in the way of the White Sox winning the AL Central next time because his contract is up after the season. 2025. He will be long gone by the time the White Sox are ready to compete had he gone to the Twins. And heck, the Sox actually got talked out of trying to get Tommy Edman from the Cardinals. One of the reported deals was it was just going to be Fetty for Edman. And I wouldn't mind Tommy Edman right now during a rebuild. Decent bridge player, as we saw in the World Series and in the playoffs. Very productive. He just has to stay healthy. And then Michael Kopech, yes, his trade value may not have been the highest, but he was pitching better before the deadline. 5 really good, strong outings. And if you can get a team's top 20 prospect for Tanner Banks, you should have been able to do the same with Michael Kopech. And then Tommy Pham, he was supposed to bring you something back too. And it sounds like, when you look at the optics, he was just thrown in that deal. So what was the whole point of having him on this team to begin with? So instead, they bundled all their assets into one deal, and the team that got the 2 big league players, the Cardinals, didn't have to send the Sox anything. In fact, the Sox had to send them cash. But the Sox get Vargas, who had been given a runway. Chris Getz tried to say, well, he hasn't been given much of a runway. He was given like 300 at bats before he came to the Southside. That's a decent runway. And his numbers have proved he wasn't going to be a piece that's going to accelerate your rebuild. That's the whole point. You want to get foundational players for a guy like Erick Fedde. And I don't think Miguel Vargas is a foundational player. So tell me, how is that not fleecing when the market could have dictated better returns? Tell me how that's not. Now, you're stuck with Vargas, and he's out of minor league options. So you're basically stuck with him. If he doesn't make the team out of camp, you basically have to, I believe, designate him for assignment and then completely admit that you got completely robbed in that deal. So I think they're going to try to give him every runway. But remember, his slash line, and this is now over 591 career at-bats, so basically a full season's worth of at-bats. His slash line, 175, 273, 312, a career 585 OPS, 13 home runs, a WRC plus of 65. You see why I'm a little harsh on the guy? You see? Now, the projections for 2025, they don't look much better. The Steamer projections, according to Fangraphs, is 454 at-bats, 13 home runs, 225, 324, 325, 384 slash line. Again, how does that accelerate your rebuild? But at least you get an on-base over 300, 15 points below what you consider the solid 340 mark you're looking for. But still, hey, at least I'm trying to now unpack. Maybe Miguel Vargas can still be salvageable. He did have a hard-to-hit percentage of 30.2%, so 5 percentage points below good. But here's the other problem you have with him. Where do you put him defensively? Because defensively, he is a -5 defensive runs saved and a -7 abouts of average at second base. So you can't play him there. -3 DRS, -4 OOA in left. Can't put him there. -1 DRS and -2 OOA at third, where they're probably going to put him again. So this is why I'm harsh on the guy. You needed to get a piece back and maybe 2 pieces back from those 3 assets and some lottery tickets, which they did. And Jarrell Perez, I think I'm hopeful on Jarrell Perez. Alexander Albertus, though, had a broken leg. So it looks like he had another surgery. I think he posted on Instagram, like, that one is probably not what you should have done. But when you're talking about accelerating the rebuild, and I know I'm relitigating it, but man, what I saw from comments, it was like, what are we talking about here? Are we in the same reality? But I will give some grace here, and I'm going to try to see, can you salvage Miguel Vargas? Is there something there? And I think the first hint that you can find something there, first base, 55 2 1/3 innings played there positionally. He's a +2 DRS and a net neutral outs above average. Considering Andrew Vaughn is a -9 defensive runs saved and a -19 outs above average in 4 years at first, you might get at least better run prevention production from Miguel Vargas at first. So right there, maybe you think, I know they're talking about third and they always think that's his best position, but I wouldn't mind actually trying him at first. And you rotate Benintendi and Vaughn at DH. Maybe you put Vaughn at first if he's on a heater, but you just rotate those guys, and maybe you put Miguel Vargas at first base, because at least he's going to be a much better fielder than Andrew Vaughn. And it's not like you have to be a great fielder at first base. Basically, you just got to catch the ball. And if sometimes, you got a lefty who hits one down the corner, basically the equivalent of a righty hitting one down the corner at third. You just got to make a quick reaction. But Andrew Vaughn is terrible defensively. Miguel Vargas could at least give you something there. And then also, here's where you might be able to get a glimpse into a decent big league player that fits what the White Sox are trying to do at the plate next season. He's projected to have an 11.9% walk rate, which, per Fangraphs is a percentage above, is at above average. 10% they consider above average. So he's got the chance to fit, again, what they're trying to do, which is basically go back to basics money ball standards of let's just get guys on base. So an 11.9% walk rate. Okay, maybe you're starting to fit into the strategy that you want to do at the plate next season. A 21.7 K rate, which is a percentage point below being average, but still, not a free swinger there exactly for his career, or at least in terms of what Fangraphs is projecting. And then, when you look at his outside zone swing percentage, it's actually pretty good, 20.3%. So, control the strike zone. So getting on base, they want to control the strike zone. They want hitters to be more disciplined. Maybe he's going to fit that mold. So in essence, do you condition Miguel Vargas to basically keep that bat on the shoulders, man, and only swing if you get your pitch, or if you just need to fight off strikes to keep battling, to get that get those 4 balls and get on base, buddy? Or again, if you see your pitch, obviously swing at it and hit it and drive it, because he does put the ball in the air too. I believe his career average is just under 50%. So he could fit into what you're doing. But here's the problem, people. Vargas can't hit heat. He just can't. He faced fastballs 632 times this season. Slash line, here's what he hit. 144 with a 273 slug. He had just 100 batted ball events. Batted ball events meaning basically you make contact, you put the ball in play. Not fouls, all that. 100 times out of 632 fastballs he faced. And it wasn't much better in 2023 when he faced 771 fastballs, a 191 average, 116 batted ball events. Ooh, again, that's where he struggles, to hit fastballs. And in today's day and age where it's just more velocity and more velocity and more velocity, you got to be able to hit fastballs. You got to be able to square up fastballs. I'm sorry, even if they're 100 miles per hour, hitters, we saw with Michael Kopech through the first half of the season, was they knew 100 was coming up. Just square it up if it gets in the center and get the barrel on the bat on it, and you're going to send it a long, long way. He faced 362 four-seamers, and this is according to Baseball Savant in 2024. So 362 four-seam fastballs. He hit 138. So he's got to find a way then to get the bat maybe started earlier, or again, just fight those suckers off to get his pitch, which seems to be curveballs and cutters. So, curveballs and cutters, that's where you at least see an average above 200 when he gets those. But again, if you look at those numbers and you're putting together a pitching plan, all you're telling everybody is just throw as hard as you can. Now, obviously, if your fastball is 91, 92, maybe he'll catch up to that. But if you throw over 96, 97, he's dead in the water. And a lot of pitchers are doing that these days. And I've been super hard on Lenyn Sosa, but at least he's reached the status of obviously always drawing me back in. Just when I think I'm done with him, he does something great, like have a great September. And this is where another evidence of where maybe you peak and see what this organization has done with Lenyn Sosa, or what he's done. Maybe there is something that can help Miguel Vargas, because in 2023, he had a 239 average against fastballs. He faced 351 of them. 2024, he faced 802. And remember, I think there was a stat where he faced some of the fastest pitches ever, but he faced 802 fastballs. He hit 281. Hopefully I'm reading Baseball Savant right, but he hit 281. So maybe I should give Miguel Vargas some grace, but the biggest thing he has to overcome besides fastballs is just accepting you play on the Southside now, man. I mean, stop looking so traumatized. I know it was very hard to go probably from a world-class organization like the Dodgers to basically this rotting carcass of an organization, the White Sox, but man, that guy just looked so traumatized, so broken. And it's you got to get over it. You got to accept it. They're actually giving you an opportunity to play in the big leagues. The Dodgers sent you to AAA, man. So that's another thing that he has to get over. So maybe I'll give him some grace as long as I stop seeing this, this just sad, resigned look and just take advantage of the opportunity that you've been given, man, then yes, work to get on base and figure out a way to hit some heat, man. Well, after watching last night's Bears game and hearing the sell the team chants, it got me thinking, even in MLB, there has to be better standards for owning a franchise than just being rich or inheriting a team. And let's discuss that after the break. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I always maintain FanDuel's traditional spreads, money lines, and over-unders, they're fun to play. But if you want to win big or at least have a chance to double or triple your money, FanDuel's parlays, props, and futures is the way to go. Popular parlay for tomorrow's Los Angeles and New England game is LA -1.5 spread for each quarter. That is at plus 1,784. Put $10 on that, and if it hits, you can win $178.45. Denver and Cincinnati is the other game tomorrow night. Popular four-leg parlay is Javonte Williams, Cortland Sutton, Chase Brown, and Jamar Chase, all scoring an anytime touchdown. Plus 2,219 is where it's at. $10 on that, and if it wins, $221.91 could be won if you put, again, $10 on it. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back to Locked On White Sox. I'm your host, Todd Welter. Again, make sure to hit the like button on today's episode and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox if you've not done so already. And if you can't catch the show on YouTube, Locked On White Sox is available on all major podcast platforms, so make sure to follow or subscribe on places such as Apple or Spotify. Either way, get your 30-minute fix of Chicago White Sox baseball venting with me, as this is the only podcast dedicated to White Sox talk 5 days a week, year-round. So currently, the only real standards to be an owner, and this is basically in any sport, at least in America, but definitely in Major League Baseball, the only standard to be an owner in baseball is you got to be wealthy. And if you're not wealthy, were your parents wealthy? And did they leave you the team in their will upon their passing? That's it. It's the only two qualifications. Now, obviously, leagues have forced out racist owners, obviously, so you don't be racist too. And that's just standard logic. But really, you just got to be rich, or your grandparents or your parents would have had to have been rich, and then will you the team. That's it. McDonald's has tougher standards, folks, to get a franchise. I mean, look up the FAQs. I actually did that before the show to say, like, isn't it tougher to own a McDonald's than to own a big league team? Like, for example, you can't buy a franchise for a son or daughter. You got to complete at least a year-long training course. They build the sites. They determine, okay, well, we're going to build it if we feel that it's an investment. You can't have franchise partnerships. I mean, they have standards beyond just having money. Look up the FAQ. Hopefully I read it right, but there's some standards there for being a big league owner. In fact, Roy Kroc was a big league owner for the San Diego Padres, and it's well known how he, ran his personal McDonald's franchises. He was very particular. He had a lot of standards, and he tried to do the same thing with the Padres, and then he realized that I can't do that this way. So he just was basically hands off for as long as he owned the Padres. But think about that. I mean, you just got to be rich or inherit the team. Doesn't mean you have to be competent. Doesn't mean you have to know people. Doesn't mean you have to even understand baseball. You just got to be rich. And I was thinking, especially with the current state of the Sox, wouldn't it be nice if MLB basically had standards like, say, McDonald's? Because these are franchises of Major League Baseball. I mean, wouldn't it be great for a league to say, if you cannot competently run this franchise, we're revoking your ownership and forcing you to sell. It would be fantastic for the game. Because that's one of the things that's wrong with the game. Everybody keeps saying, well, it's the salaries and the players and blah, 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 blah. A lot of it's the owners. Looking for cost-cutting measures, looking to try to squeeze every single cent out of these franchises, which is, they're right, it's a business too, but the business of sports is way different than the business of, say, your bank, say, of Ford, of McDonald's, because you don't get a lot of you don't get recognition for having the best balance sheet. These are basically public trusts that you own. That's really what it is. You don't get the World Series trophy because you turn the highest profit. You get the World Series trophy because you put together the best roster, the best collection of talent. Now, if you do it based on the cheap by getting young players, grouping them together based on the rules, more power to you. But as we saw in 2024, it was the Dodgers and the Yankees, usually the two highest spending teams in the World Series. And who won it? The Dodgers, because they went for broke. And what did they do? They realized you should invest in player development because you can use these guys either as young prime years foundational pieces, or you can leverage them to trade for players that put you over the top. And then you use free agency to put yourself over the top. I know, broken record there, but there's really no accountability for bad ownership. There just isn't. You can be a bad owner and teams can chant, fans can chant, sell the team. And guess what you can do? You can go look at your checkbook and be like, well, I don't need to sell the team. Because even if you're bad, you're still going to make money. There's still going to be revenue coming in. People are still going to buy shirts because they love the logo or they just have this deep-seated attachment to the team. And also, what they'll just do is they'll just cut costs like what the White Sox are doing right now. By not going to the games, it's sad that, we Sox fans do have standards. We have standards that we're not going to go see a bad product. Maybe we'll go to one just because the food is fantastic, the atmosphere is great, and White Sox fans are, I think, some of the best people in the whole world. It's a great community of people that can commiserate together. There are some bags out there, obviously, but we're a fan base that's not going to be like, well, we're just going to not willy-nilly go all the time because it's cool and it's hip and that type of stuff. But that's still on the flip side. It just gives Jerry Reinsdorf more incentive to just be like, well, I don't need to invest in this team. I don't care. I can still draw money off of 10,000 people. That type of thing. And again, it's just a vicious cycle. That's why you would love for baseball and all the leagues really to start looking at being an owner of a team should just be more than inheritance or wealth. It should be about a commitment to putting the best product on the field. That should be the assessment. Now, there could be, there should be exceptions. You get injuries. I mean, the Angels, yes, I know a lot of fans are upset with Artie Moreno, but it's not Artie Moreno's fault that Mike Trout keeps getting hurt. You will get injuries. That does happen. You will draft a player that you think is amazing, that fits all the traits that you have. And we talked about it yesterday on yesterday's show with Ryan Johansson. And that player just doesn't have the want to or the ability. So that happens. You will have some bad years just based on bad luck, things going your way, things just not panning out. But it's the being on purpose bad, the tanking bad, and not that the tanking because, well, I'm a small market, I just can't compete, blah, blah, blah. That's got to stop. Put some standards in place that if you're not willing to go all in, or you're not willing to at least put the money into your player development and develop stars and market stars, and if you're not even willing to take care of the fans, because if you take care of the fans, Matt Ishba, I fully agree with him. If you take care of the fans are going to take care of you. They're going to come out. They're going to buy more of your product. They're going to buy your tickets. They're going to buy your shirts. They're going to buy your hats. They're going to support you. They're going to love you because it's a public trust, and it's got to be trust both ways. And I would love to see baseball. I'd love to see all four major organizations look at that and say, you know what, if you keep violating repeatedly that public trust and there's not extenuating circumstances, you got to get the heck up out of here. Sell the team. Take your billions and go home, and we'll get some better owners. Draw in more owners who understand if you take care of the fan will take care of you. If you be competitive, you will have your profits still and potentially a championship, which actually marks success. But instead, you keep getting owners who just want us to take care of them, and we get nothing in return. Well, Josh Naylor, thankfully, is out of the AL Central. And on today's Top 5 Friday, I'm going to talk about how about 5 more hitters you would love to see leave the AL Central. And let's discuss that next on Locked On White Sox. When I saw Michael Jordan drop 55 at Old Chicago Stadium, I got to because it was a Christmas gift. And if you get the chance to give a gift tickets to a game is the best gift to give, in my opinion. Finding the best deal through the Game Time app is also the way to go to find that gift. Hey, Christmas may have passed, but say you still haven't gone to a family outing like I'm going to today. Can't hurt to have a last minute option to go grab some tickets and give them to, say one of your cousins, uncles, aunts, grandpas, that type of stuff. Game Time is focused on togetherness this holiday season, and that means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better. And again, it's a perfect gift. Still, technically, 2 days later, people still have their family outing. So again, if you need a last minute gift, go on the Game Time app, find a ticket to, I think the Bulls are in town, that type of stuff. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And I always check the Game Time app for tickets to my beloved Marquette basketball to see if the games I had to drop my season tickets years ago. So every now and again, I still like to go. I still look for deals, and I try to tell my wife, hey, I saw tickets as low as $1. Maybe I can go. But sometimes I have family obligations, that type of stuff. But Game Time makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, and theater. The lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today, because what time is it? Game time. Welcome back to Locked On White Sox. I'm your host, Todd Welter. Again, shout out to all my everydayers. I appreciate your loyalty. Please hit the like button on today's episode. Also, recommend to your fellow Sox fans or baseball fans, friends, to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox, or wherever they get their podcasts, as the show is available on all major podcast platforms. And if you love the show, too, feel free to leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. That'd be greatly appreciated, because there's been a few haters. There's been a couple of haters that's left some bad reviews. There's also been some great reviews. I'm at 4.5. Let's get that rating up. We're growing the subscriber base too. Really appreciate that. Let's keep growing this community together, folks. Because maybe one day, the White Sox will be good, and we can talk about, White Sox baseball. We can talk about good things instead of this just, awfulness, this rotting carcass of a franchise. And speaking of rotting carcass, who helped just also destroy this franchise, Josh Naylor. And he can no longer hurt the White Sox 13 games a season. Hallelujah. He's out of the division, folks. You not only have to worry about him destroying the Sox pitching 3 games a year after he was traded last week to the Diamondbacks. So in June, expect him to come to the rate and just absolutely rake like he always does. But it's only going to be 3 times a year, folks. God bless the Cleveland Guardians sometimes for their small marketness, where they do have to trade guys that decide, I'm going to take this to free agency. You always got to love them. They're like, well, okay, you're going to be a free agent after this season. Get up out of here then. God bless him, because not many players feasted off of Sox pitching quite like Naylor. He posted a 342, 382, 572 slash line in 50 career games against the Southsiders. I'll repeat that again. 342, 382, 572 slash line. On eye-popping 147 OPS plus. The only thing that just stunned me was he only had 5. I think he had 5 career home runs against the White Sox. But man, there were some backbreakers like that. Was it the walk-off or the game-tying grand slam in 2022 after the Sox had built up, I believe, an 8-2 lead, and then the walk-off 3-run homer, or not the walk-off, but the go-ahead 3-run homer. I mean, the man just crushed the White Sox, and it got me thinking, for today's Top 5 Friday, who are some other players I would love to see get the heck up out of the division who just absolutely destroy the Sox 13 games a season. So this is in no particular order. Here is who I'd love to see in terms of hitters get up out of the AL Central. First of all, Jose Ramirez, Cleveland superstar, has a 264 career batting average against the Sox with 157 hits, 34 home runs, 102 RBIs, and 105 runs scored in 165 games versus the Sox. And we still got to deal with him, folks, because he's signed through 2028. But man, it would just be glorious for him to one day leave the Central, because that guy feasts on White Sox pitching. Byron Buxton, who always seems to be healthy enough to play the Sox. The guy's usually always hurt, rarely ever. I don't think he's ever played above 100 games, or it's been a while, or maybe this season. But it just always seems like he's hurt, except for against the White Sox. He has a 288 career average with 85 hits, 21 home runs, 49 RBIs, 60 runs scored in 87 career games versus the Sox. And guess what? He too is signed through 2028. Salvador Perez has a batting average of 263 against the Sox, 183 hits, 26 home runs, though. That's the biggest thing. This man crushes White Sox pitching because for some reason they keep throwing him fastballs over the plate. Stop throwing him fastballs over the plate. He's going to place them in the bleachers. That's what he does best. 92 RBIs, 69 runs scored in 182 career games against the Sox. Just stop throwing them fastballs, okay? Please. He signed through 2026, and also hopefully Father Time eventually catches up with him. Bobby Witt Jr., 305 batting average against the Sox with 51 hits, 5 home runs, 16 RBIs, and 29 runs scored in 43 career games. And he's just getting started, folks. And he's going to be around for a long, long time. But, man, it would just be great to have him go somewhere else. It'll never happen. He's going to be a foundational player. He's going to be a thorn in the White Sox side probably through the next decade. Oh, man. Stephen Kwan, hitting .345 for his career with 57 hits, 5 home runs, 18 RBIs, and 34 runs scored in 41 career games against the Sox in his career, and he is controlled through 2027. So maybe that's probably him and Salvador Perez are probably the most likely that you'll see get up out of here sooner, and it probably won't be until 2026. So watch those guys feast on White Sox pitching. Well, that wraps up this edition of Locked On White Sox. Thank you for making Locked On White Sox your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB. Baseball guru Sully brings a daily blend of humor and baseball, keeping you updated on every rumor and story throughout the offseason. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And I'll be back on Monday, and I'll get back to some Minor League Monday recaps of the team's top 30 prospects. Feel free to leave comments about today's discussion regarding if Miguel Vargas can still be something in the big leagues, having better ownership standards in the majors, and Top 5 Friday of 5 hitters you would love to see get the heck up out of the AL Central. You can leave them at the episode page on YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, at Todd J. Dub, or at Locked On Sox, or you can email me at lockedonwhitesox@gmail.com. Have a great day, have a great weekend, and I will see you Monday.